My name is Ethan Walker. In October of 2022, I took a solo hiking trip through a remote section of the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina. I had hiked that area many times before. Nothing unusual. Nothing dangerous. At least that's what I thought. On my second day, I met an older hiker sitting beside the trail. Gray beard. Old backpack. Weathered boots. He smiled as I passed and said, "You're going to lose your compass tomorrow." I laughed. I carried a GPS watch and a backup compass. There was no reason to worry. The next afternoon, while crossing a steep rocky ridge, my compass slipped from my pocket and disappeared into a crack between the rocks. I never found it. That should have been the end of it. Except 2 hours later I saw the same old man again. 40 miles farther north. Impossible. There wasn't enough time for him to get there. He looked up from a fallen log and said, "Told you." Then he smiled. That was when the fear began. Over the next 2 days, he kept appearing ahead of me. Not behind. Ahead. Always waiting. Always predicting things before they happened. A broken shoelace. A sudden thunderstorm. A dead deer blocking the trail. Every time. He knew. And every prediction came true. On the final night, I found an abandoned fire tower deep in the mountains. The old man was already there. Standing at the top. Watching the forest. I climbed halfway before he spoke. "You shouldn't be here after dark." I asked him who he was. He turned toward me. For the first time, I realized his clothes looked decades old. His backpack was made of canvas. Military surplus style. Nothing modern. Nothing current. Then he said something that froze my blood. "I died up here in 1978. The tower lights suddenly flickered. A violent wind slammed into the structure. And the old man vanished. Not walked away. Vanished. The next morning, I reached a ranger station. Inside was a wall displaying missing hikers and accident reports. One photo showed a man who disappeared during a storm in 1978. Gray beard. Canvas backpack. Same face. The same man. I left immediately. I have never returned. And sometimes I still dream about his final warning. Because I never asked what would have happened if I stayed after dark. In 2021, I planned a 3-night backpacking trip in eastern Tennessee. Near sunset on the first evening, I found a beautiful campsite beside a creek. Everything seemed perfect. There was already a tent there. A campfire ring. A picnic table. Even lanterns hanging from nearby trees. Strange thing was, there were no people. I called out. No answer. I assumed they were collecting firewood. So I set up nearby. Hours passed. Nobody returned. Around midnight, I heard voices. Children laughing. Coming from the other campsite. I looked outside. The lanterns were glowing. Silhouettes moved around the fire. At least 4 people. Maybe 5. I watched them for nearly a minute. Then one of the figures stopped moving. Slowly turned toward me. And pointed. Every other figure turned too. I zipped my tent shut and stayed inside until sunrise. When daylight came, I looked outside. The other campsite was gone. No tent. No fire pit. No lanterns. No picnic table. Nothing. Only untouched forest. Years later, I checked old maps. Apparently, a family disappeared in that exact area during a flood in 1964. Their campsite was never found. Every Appalachian hiker knows trail markers. They are simple, reliable. You trust them. That trust nearly got me killed. During a solo trip in West Virginia, I noticed a wooden marker marked 14. An hour later, I found another one, also marked 14. Then another, and another. Every path seemed to lead back to the same number. The deeper I walked, the quieter the forest became. No birds, no insects, no wind, nothing, just silence. Near sunset, I discovered a small wooden building hidden among the trees. No windows. One door. And a faded number painted above it. I should have left. Instead, I opened the door. Inside was a room covered in trail maps. Hundreds of them. Different years. Different states. All connected by red strings. And in the center of the room was a wall covered with photographs. Hikers. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Some photos were decades old. Some looked recent. One photograph had been taken only days earlier. Because it showed me. Standing beside my truck at the trailhead. I ran. Branches tore at my clothes. I didn't stop until I reached the parking lot. My truck was still there, but someone had carved a number into the driver's door. I sold that truck 6 months later. The number kept reappearing. No matter how many times I painted over it.